All right. Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here again. Last time I had a talk was in Casual Connect San Francisco. I talked about how to get dormant users back to using your app. This time I'm going to talk about how to actually take advantage of your active users. So it's something a little bit similar to what we've just seen with Julian from Buga, and I'm going to show you a few cases and examples of what we do with our customers. So just very briefly about us, I work at a company called Epoxy. We have a platform, mobile marketing automation platform that helps increase engagement, retention, and of course revenue. So briefly about me, I've been in the industry for last 15, 20 years, been doing development, product, marketing, business development, sales. Just before I joined Epoxy, I actually worked at a performance marketing agency. And we were getting paid by the level of players. So if a player had a high lifetime value, we're getting paid more. And then I started seeing the differences between companies that do work on retention versus companies that don't work on retention. And then I started encountering Epoxy a few times and ended up being a customer, and then decided to come join. This is some of the customers that we work with, and the data I'll show you today is based on these customers, basically, and some of these customers. Okay, so more than 300 million users with our SDK. So just let me take a step back a little bit and talk about the type of media that we used to have and type of media we have today. I just want to stress this point, wherein if 20 years ago I could tell, one second, how many of you guys are marketers, work on marketing? Anybody? Okay, developers? Agencies out there? No agencies? Great, I wanted to kick them out. No. Okay, no, kidding. No, I was also part of an agency. So if I told you marketers that 20 years ago I come to one of these marketers and tell them I have a type of media that doesn't show up in the air somewhere. It's going to be following you around whatever you are, in the bathroom, in the going on a subway, with friends, whatever you are. It's just going to jump to your face, and you'll be able to actually interact with it, and then either interact with your brand or actually spend money in your brand straight away. You would be amazed, right? And this is what's actually happening today when you move from the less personal part to the very personal part. And we'll talk also about the dangers of it, but this is the just the point of saying we're actually getting way more personal, and we have access to we're getting closer to the customer. Okay, so talking about the active, I'm going to concentrate about on the active user base of your games or your apps. And we can look on specifically on Epoxy. 82% of Epoxy's daily active users come from push-enabled users. So we don't know exactly what causes what. So either the push causes people to be active, or the fact that they're active, actually they're push-enabled. But this is just a fact that shows you that these are, this audience is very addressable through push and in-app messages. Okay, a little bit more, statistics from research done by Everplay. You guys are probably aware of this, but that 1% of most of your revenue comes from a very small portion of your users, right? This shows you that 1% of your users will account for 29% of your revenues, where 10% of your users account for 66% of your revenues. So each one of you probably have something different, but at the end of the day, it shows you that you have there's whales out there, and I know that show you examples about casinos later, but some of the verticals know this really well and concentrate on the active verticals really well, where others are still concentrated on bringing more and more junk users, or whatever you want to call them. I'll talk about the whales or the active users today. Just one last fact before I go into the cases. You can see that this is a push open rates on average per message across active and inactive users. Okay, something that a research that's been done, and you can see that 2% is a broadcast. You can get 2% of people to actually click a push message, where you get 8% were targeted, highly segmented users. So by the way, when you look at the active users, the numbers that we've been seeing is somewhere between 6 and 15% click-through rate on the active users on messages. Okay. The thing I wanted to stress here is that if you go on the broadcast, what you don't see on the left side, that once you broadcast a message and you get 2% open rates, similar to, let's say, an email that you send out on a good campaign, you actually can you probably will create a negative effect of people that get the message when they don't expect it. It could be in the middle of the night in their local time. It could be a message that's not relevant to them. Come and purchase something where they haven't even registered or started playing, or whatever the game is, whatever the app is. So you have to be, and we'll talk about it later, you have to be really careful about what sort of messages you send to what users, and monitor the negative effect of people that are, that are actually getting the wrong message. And this is just a kind of a picture to illustrate that. If you want to do it, you can't do it right, don't do it at all. Actually, I'm not sure what they're doing talking on the phone on their wedding day, but that message is definitely not relevant. Okay, moving on. So case number 1, money back promotion. So we're gonna look at a few cases. It's gonna be 5 cases. I'm gonna ask I want to see if you guys can guess the answers. So this is a sport betting app. Their goal was to increase daily activation. It has nothing to do with the revenues in this case, and they chose users who bet in the past, not necessarily being active today, but there was a high correlation. And the tactic was to send promotional push before the game starts, and whoever bets first gets his money back. Okay, so they were actually debating also if to make this first 100 people who bet get the money back, or for to make it a little bit more, to get it's the first one, you might think that it's too hard to get it, to make it a little bit more appealing, but they ended up saying, okay, we'll just do something simple, quick. If you bet on the next game before anyone else, you'll get your money back, your cash back. Okay? So what do you think the activation, the effect on the daily activation was in this simple message? This was only for the users who bet in the past. Anybody? 20%, okay. I'll take 20%. 70%. Okay, this is a very good result. They got, in terms of percentages, it's 250% increase in the daily activation. So it means that in this specific case, a lot of the users that were active were the ones who bet in the past, and it means that it actually got the message. A lot of them opened, that necessarily bet. In this case, we didn't show the numbers, but the revenue also increased in that case. Of course, I'll show you revenue numbers, percentages in the other cases. But we were actually very surprised. We expected something like 20%, 50%, 70%. But we ended up seeing that actually, some people probably wanted to bet anyway before, got this message, or thought about, this game, why not? Maybe I'll get my money back, etc. So this was the first case. Second case, moving users through a funnel. So this is a case that's true for I would say all of our customers. This specific type of campaign that they run with the active users. It could be a game when you have the first step to get them to, to build a castle, or it could be connect to Facebook, which is very, very important to, customer lifetime value of a person that connects to Facebook is much higher. They could be viral, they could be used in different ways. Or it could be getting them, in this case, from download to register. So this was a real money casino. Download to register percentage on their side was something between, I think it was something between in this case it was pretty high. It was close to 10%, but it was between 5 and 10% if I remember correctly, which is very high. In some of our clients we have a 2% conversion from download to register. It means that we're buying traffic in a smart way. And out of let's say it's 10% for the case, and it means 90% of the users were getting in, installing, not downloading. It could be insane traffic. It could be people that just don't want to. Under register, you had to put in your credit card. Okay, so we tried to get them incentivize the user to register with a gift. So the message content was sign up now and get 150% bonus coins immediately. Okay, so here we expected if the total percent, if we get 90% of the users that we can now interact with, we expect a certain percentage to get back. So this is just a side effect, was 2x% increase in the daily activity rate, which is something that we didn't expect, because it was really targeted to people that are actually not active. You had to register to be active. And then the 5% conversion rate to registered users, this was huge. So if you think of 10%, if we looked at 90% of the users and we get 5% of these 90%, it means that you get another 4.5% additional to what they had. So if they had 10%, now an additional 4.5%, it means an increase of 45% in the user base of the registered users, which these are the users that can now start betting or start, inputting, depositing money. Okay, and the message wasn't in anything special. It was sign up now and get 150 bonus points coins immediately, but the targeting was very good, and the fact that they actually, once they clicked, they got specifically deep linked into the sign up page, and that worked really well for them. Case 3. Personalization and A/B testing. Now, this was just this was a test we've done with one of our clients just to understand. They were running campaigns with us for a while now, and they just wanted to see the effect of using a first name. They weren't sure. They've seen in email that the effect is like a 40% increase in click-through rates, and they weren't sure how it will be, what will happen in push, as it can be. We weren't sure if it's maybe too personal, maybe it's something that you should avoid. The results were very different. So the message content was something like, "Hey John, make sure you collect your daily bonus to maximize your wins." The other message was, "Hey, make sure you collect your daily bonus." Okay, without the first name, that's all the difference there was in this specific example. The result, was no first name, 11% influence activations. So this means not only people who click the push, but also open the app within 12 hours. And then the next one had, I'm not going to ask because I saw that people are a little bit shy to say numbers, but with the first name, it actually 39% increased in activations. So this was like 3.5x increase in push open rates, which was amazing. So we across a few clients, we've seen results not as much as this, but close to the 2 to 3x increase in just people using the first name. So it really, really pays off to get personal information and use it, as long as it's not a first name, I guess, is not intimidating and it's fine to use, and people react to it way better. You can only do that if you have that information, of course. Racing game. Let me see how we're doing on time. Oh, we have more than enough time. Racing game. So the objective here was to increase revenue from active players. They only took users who were active in the last 7 days, so played at least once in the last 7 days. And I think they also had another, I think they also had another thing that, the users weren't installed in the last 7 days, so they wanted to get the users that actually played. I can't remember exactly, but it was something like that. It was a limited time promotional offer, offering a discount on apps in app currency. Okay, so something like this. "Hey Alex, get 60% off your purchase if you buy in the next 24 hours. We're also using a name." And then this was like, okay, next 24 hours. Now, about the time, the thing about limited time offers, it may seem kind of old and only today, and it's going to happen next week also, but we see that it actually works when we try it without it. People are actually reacting to the next 24 hours. Okay, I'll do it now. I'm not going to wait till next week. The results were 62% increase in activations, 50 to 60% increase in gameplay, and they were actually only aiming in revenue, and 38% increase in revenues over a typical day. Because they actually meant that, for the active users, they got way more active, and they spend more this day. And we haven't measured the spend across, how it's actually affected. We couldn't actually isolate how it's affected them afterwards, but this was on an average day, they increased revenue by 38%. And we can talk about, the frequency of how often you need to run these sort of limited time offers later on, but this is what the results that they got. Last case. This is actually the most advanced or complicated case that we had running. This is a social casino that wanted to increase revenue from paying customer base, but they wanted actually to discriminate people that are actually deposited a lot of money in the past, so like $100, and plus they put them in different buckets, and versus people that spent $2 in the past. So one of the ways is to actually offer them discount on the next deposit, but they decided to actually show them real money, which actually works better. So the users spend more than X dollars per month. They ran a thank you message and incentivized top tier users. And actually, it was basically discriminated across a lot of the users that paid in the past. So Sally, you're in this month's high roller club. Take 100 coins for the price of 50 today. Okay, so actually showing, and they also use these little dollar emojis that, and they actually, gave them real money now, real coins. Actually, it was a social casino show. It was real coins, virtual coins that they could use today. The results they got were 25% increase in activations and multiplied revenue by 200% or by 2x over an average day. So this is also huge for a marketer to all of a sudden increase revenue. It means that you actually have to, if you think about it from an acquisition perspective, to increase revenues by 2x is unthinkable from just getting more users in and get them to spend more. So just working on your existing user base. So this is just, we wanted to write a few tips on the actual, the way to write the content. So you have to experiment, of course, but we came up with a few things that we think that you're good to follow. So keep it short and to the point. Think like a tweet. You should really see different messages in Android and iOS come out differently. They have more room and there's different rules on rich push, and need to get to the details to see, but there's different type of amount of characters you can use. So, but either way, you should make it short and not too lengthy. Same for email, by the way, but here it's even shorter. Personalize the message to the user. We saw that effect before. It could be personalization based on the name, on their last deposit, on the level they got to in the game. So it works with say, oh, you got to level 2, you're almost at level 3, we'll give you an extra sword to get to level 3. You'll see they're coming, oh, I get something extra now, just in the next 24 hours. So a lot of these also work. Give a clear call to action. Super important to tell them what you want them to do. All right, may seem obvious, but it works better. No excessive capitulation. This just limited time offer do work, but all these, 3 punctuation marks. Come in now, please play, please share it. It works. It's comes out a bit. I don't have exact stats on this. I don't think we've done A/B testing on this because we just don't recommend doing it. Consider adding sounds and emojis. This is something that works sometimes and sometimes has a negative effect in sounds. So, but emojis do work better. They just stand out at the moment, and deliver message in the native language and time. Super important, of course, if you're international. You can do it by the local language of the phone, or you can do it just by the country. And the most important thing is provide real value to the user. It's just saying, please come back and play is a reminder. It's just, okay, we have out of the 50 apps you have, there's one now that's calling you to, to come and play. But if I have a video recommendation app and it tells me, oh, you liked, I don't know, this natural movie of a lion eating a zebra, I have a crocodile for you now, come and see it. Okay, it's value for me. Okay, this is a true story. Okay. Key takeaways. So 1 to 10% of your users make up a huge majority of gaming revenues. We talked about it in the beginning. I think you guys all know that. If you can't do retention right, don't do it at all. This is super important for all these, all your marketers and people that think, okay, we'll just, we'll put something in and we'll send messages across. And we're not going to even check if it works. It doesn't. I'm sure it has some sort of effect. We're not going to check the uninstall rate after a message and just spray everybody with the same message. It just doesn't work. It has a negative effect. And there's a variety of campaigns you can run to the active users to keep them happy. So we talked about limited time offers, money back offers, personalization based on user past action, reward for loyalty, and incentivize to move through a funnel. There's a list of things. Probably the list goes on, but this is one of the things we wanted to put here in this lecture. And remember of tips and tricks for writing good push content. Just a slide before that. That's it. 20 minutes. We have 5 minutes.
If you have a question, raise your hand, and please wait for the microphone to speak into the question.
Hello, my name is Özgür. I'm from the in-game group. Thanks for the presentation. I have a quick question about could you go to the case 5?
Slide number 22.
Case 5. Thank you very much. For example, here you gave a real discount on players' coin purchase. Yeah, yep. You give these coins, and this has a cost itself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you calculate this revenue? Is this the net
The
revenue?
No, this is net. This is not net revenue. This means that this is the revenue increase that they had over an average day without doing any promotion. Okay. The money, the virtual coin doesn't cost them anything. The cost for them is the opportunity cost of maybe somebody would have purchased 100 coins and not 50. But they don't care. They just measured what did we do today, what did we do yesterday, without a promotion. We didn't have any sort of additional activities on promotion or new users that came in. And this was, this was measured on the active user base. So they actually did increase the revenues over.
But you also deduct the, for example, a user would maybe normally go and buy, but now he's buying with half the price.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm saying we did not deduct the opportunity cost.
Okay.
But we compared the revenue of today versus the revenue of yesterday. So the revenue of yesterday should include within the revenue of yesterday the opportunity cost, because yesterday it didn't have that promotion.
Okay, but in in the sum, it's higher.
Yeah.
If you consider the opportunity cost from your experience, it's always better.
So no, I don't. Like I said, when we did this campaign, we didn't calculate the opportunity cost. Okay. But when we measure today versus yesterday does include the opportunity cost factored into yesterday, because yesterday does, people do deposit 100 instead of 50. So overall, they did. You're right that it's very, when you get to calculating revenues, and it's sometimes not as straightforward, and ROI is very hard to do. There's so many different things coming in, and you really try to isolate stuff. So it has to be like, this is so substantial with the revenues by 2x. Okay, maybe it would have been 1.5. I don't know, but it was substantial enough to run these things on a weekly basis.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Have you measured also the negative effect of those promotions? That's the first question.
Yeah.
And the second question, are you doing them on a regular basis?
Yeah, so first questions, of course, we measure the negative effect. On the active user base, it actually varies across this. I can't give you it's so different between, I can tell you that on the active users, the negative effect is way lower than the non-active users. So if you're going if you're going to hit the dormant users, you're going to get a lot of uninstalls. Okay, because they would have uninstalled, you just don't know it because they're not going to touch the app anymore. So it's really hard for us to know what is the real negative effect. Here, the negative effect, the negative effect is, it's very hard to measure, but it's very hard to tell you a number. It is easy to measure. You see how many uninstalls you get from this message. So we definitely measure it as we go. Every time we come up with a campaign, we see what's the effect of people that are actually non-active.
My question was more when I'm thinking about negative effect. I'm thinking also about the fact that the sales might decrease in the following days because people saw this as great opportunity and then they won't buy until they get a new one.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's there. In these cases, and the daily revenues, in two of the examples, there were no negative effects. So you can actually see like this, and it goes back to being normal. We were thinking, this is one of the first things we thought about. So maybe they spent today, but now they're not spending in the next few days. But it's not right. And also in these cases, there's in some cases, now I'm not sure in these two, there's a lot of turnover. So sometimes it does make sense to do it anyway. But in this case, we haven't seen a negative effect in the next few days. We actually also, they measured across the week. It's something that was actually very very effective.
And how often do you do those kind of promotions?
It's more, and the thing is, it's more depending on the client. This client specifically, there's some clients that they do it every day. Like some gaming that they do it every day, but for different segments. So for example, the install not register runs every day, but every day only one. You're not gonna get it twice. You just install, you wait, and they'll do inactive for the whatever it is. So they can run every day on different segments. The big promotions of something like case number 5, you don't want to do more than once a week. Once a week is like the minimum frequency because it's something special. You want to see this as well. And this also required them to do quite a lot of work in the beginning to set this up. Now they can run it every week. But there's anyway from daily, something that's very simple, to weekly, but some customers actually do daily stuff that actually people get every day the same. They get the message every day. We don't recommend it, but they also do it. In our case, if you get a message once a week, that's fine. If the same person gets a message once a week, that usually doesn't have any negative effect.
Okay, thanks. Great presentation.
Thanks.
Yeah, hi. I just came in towards the end. It seems like a really interesting presentation. Is there any way you can get a copy of it?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a video of the presentation, including this now.
Okay, brilliant.
And yeah, and also you can get the deck.
So one last question for me. Is there any research that shows whether the lifetime spend of people is adjusted by these things? If I may have a cap that I'm going to spend $100 in a game,
Yeah.
by these campaigns you can make me burn through that faster, but when I reach my $100, I'm not going to spend any more. Or are you just increasing my rate, or am I actually increasing the overall lifetime spend as well?
Yeah, so the lifetime spend in some verticals that we tested definitely increased by a lot.
Okay.
By a lot, especially the real money casinos that they check these things very carefully. So when I actually, before I even joined Epoxy, I worked at a company. We got the as an agency, we got the revenues based, it wasn't CPI or CPM, it was based on lifetime value.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw how they all of a sudden said, okay, that channel didn't work in the past, and they start integrating Epoxy. All of a sudden they say, okay, we want to get that channel also now. You're going to get less from it, but it also makes sense now. So they definitely saw a lifetime value increase, and they know the lifetime value within a week, pretty much. They have enough indicators to know. So it does work on lifetime.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.